I mean, what fishing currently takes place in those in that
It's
location?
crab and lobster and velvet crab fishing. So it's primarily shellfish with a little bit of that. Then what we have, which is unique to this patch, we have a bass fishery, something that's happened because of I suppose the North Sea is a little bit warmer and bass have come north, quite prolific in the Channel, but now they're spread and we've got them all the year round here. Now, in my days of fishing, we never saw one.
So what sort of fishing did you do when you were a fisherman?
Well, I've been traditional crabbing, lobster fishing, herring fishing, drift nets, line fishing for cod. Yeah.
So why has the change taken place? Do you know?
Well, it's just the way it's technology. I mean, technology is if we go back to Brid, say coming up to the First World War, it was just starting to land fish of any quantity. Well, crabs and lobsters. Flamborough was a bigger landing port than Bridlington. But what happened? Technology, engines, marine engines. So First World War, they requisitioned all the trawlers which were catching the nation's fish. They then, just before the war started, they said, look, we're going to have to do something here. We'll give some grants for re-engineering sailing vessels. And that's what they did. So Bridlington, all of a sudden, it peaked because it got motors installed in a lot of the Brid boats, but also from Filey and from Flamborough.
So prior to that, then obviously it was sailing boats and the cobble boats. I guess were they part of this area, or are they?
Oh, this is the Cobble Coast.
Yeah.
This is from the Tyne. Well, we'll go beyond there. We'll go to the Farne Islands, Lindisfarne to Spurn. The Cobble Coast. That's unique to our type of vessel.
So what can you tell me about the cobble boats that made it unique to this part of the world?
I mean, they are. We don't know. We can't say where the word comes from, but I mean, we know you're looking at Viking longships, Tinker built. You know, we're just looking at well, I suppose it's just evolved. Skin huts, you know. You can imagine. Plus the fact that you can imagine that no trawling, nothing interfering with the sea at all. You can imagine in a little skin boat or a coracle type thing, you could maybe just have to go behind low water and catch a fish or two, and you were only catching them for yourself, maybe just your neighbour. You weren't getting the, you weren't landing volumes.
So it wasn't an industry. It was a means of survival.
It's cottage industry, yeah. And so it evolved from that. Right? The cobbles came onto the scene. You needed them because from the patch which was mentioned, most of them are beach launched. They're ideal for that. A cobble, they're flat bottomed.
So is there any modern equivalent of beach launch that takes place?
Oh yes, there is now catamarans. Oh, yeah, we've got Hornsey and Withensea. If you went there, you'd see a difference. They always had cobbles.
Right. So I know somebody told me that there was seeding of the seas with lobster at one time.
Yes.
Can you tell me something about that and why it was done
Well,
and how it happened?
Well, that was it was from the Lowestoft Laboratory, MAF. They looked on rearing juvenile lobsters and then reseeding, and then they put small tags in them, electromagnetic tags, and then ever after that they came and they put them down a tube. Every lobster that was coming up to landing size, 87 the carapace length, put them down this tube, and if it rang off, it was one that had survived, and there was a few.
Right.
There's a few.
So what happens to all the fish that's caught along this coast?
Well, from here, to Spain, crabs and lobsters are exported. Lobsters all go to Spain and France. Crabs, there are processors here, but the bulk of them go away.
So, I mean, it's a silly question, but why is that? Why do we use them in the domestic market?
Well, they won't pay the price. You wouldn't be viable here if you're getting the UK price. Plus the fact the UK market can't absorb. We're not like the continentals. We don't eat as much seafood as they do.
Right.
I mean, we're just fish and chips, aren't we? And we're all right. And crabs. But I mean, not everybody likes them.
So, can you take me through the process of what happens to the fish? The boats go out and they catch their catch, and they come back. Tell me what happens to.
When it comes ashore, it's graded, selected, because we have big holding tanks on the pier, and everything's there. And then these large trucks come, viviers. That's the salt that can keep them alive. And then they go and take them down the motorway and across on the ferries and up to Spain and France.
So how many times a week does that happen?
Depending on, I mean, we're coming into our peak now, and we've got 3 landing companies, and there could be maybe 6 viviers through the week. I mean, they're coming for tons. They're not coming for small amounts. They come for the tonnage.
So that could be 6 and how much would each of those lorries carry?
It depends. It's some of them, you see, they start in Scotland, picking up and go work down the coast. Some go the west side and some come east side. Sometimes a smaller vivier will go from here across the M6 and load one that's going. It's
a crisscross network.
Yes, it is. It's well organised.
What do you think the future is for fishing in the area?
Well, it's good. As long as we don't, the stroke of a pen from government or Europe, we can if you look at legislation for landing crabs and lobsters, if they put the size up, that's a loss of earnings. But that's only temporary. That's good for the stock and good for the future. But they could do all sorts of other things which could ruin it. Because we've got nowhere else to go. We've only got crabs, lobsters and velvet crabs and whelks.
Right.
That's all we have.
And is that because of fishing restrictions of where you...
Well, for whitefish, yeah. There's only 2 vessels in this harbour control.
So, does the rest of that go to European countries or Scandinavia or something? Is that
Well, they can. The French trawl among our fishing gear, our botting gear off here, but we sort of got a working relationship. But there isn't the fish here there used to be. That's one of the problems.
So obviously, as you say before, the fish stock has changed, and you're just making the best of.
Yeah, I mean, 1967 we started trawling here. Now those Belgians, you saw that group of people were discussing in '63. Well, I mean, it was like this: you can't beat them, join them. And of course, what we're getting, instead of having heavy manila and sisal nets, you're getting man-made fibre, choline, nylon. So then we've got the Decca Navigator, which we used in the war. The chains were extended all over the North Sea. So we had navigation to navigate around wrecks and hard ground. So all of a sudden technology just leaped ahead with the nets, the gear technology. Oh dear, and then we were off.
I guess things like sonar and...
Well, that's right. All that came in, so I mean, stocks were really hammered, mercifully. And the result was, of course, our fleet disintegrated in '89. We have 41 very, very sophisticated trawlers. Mind you, there was two big companies, one from Hull, a trawling company, Hamlin's. They had about 14 boats, and a local company, Bridlington Trawlers, had about 10. The rest of us were skipper owners, but there was two big companies, and of course the fish went away to Hull Market, so we had to pay for cartage, wharfage at Hull, which was took 17%.
Yeah.
But this, you see what it's like here. You're self-contained here. We pay, the harbour pays. They have to pay 4.3 pence in the pound for every pound, but that's it. You've got nothing else.
Right. So in 1989, when things collapsed a little bit, it was a matter of picking yourself up. And
Well, what happened? 89 fishermen went on working on the estate on Sarah Lee's cake factory, to be quite honest. And so the crews just went. Us that were left, we just struggled on, and because there wasn't the number of boats, it was a little bit better for us, but it was on its way down, and it lasted until the millennium, and that was about the last of the cod fishery. But then we were all looking at people that were potting. Gradually, people were moving across, and of course, we just adapted our boats to go shellfishing. And then some of us have built new purpose-built boats for shellfish.
do you still fish now?
This will be my last year. I have a salmon licence. I've also had a salmon licence. It allowed me to fish with 400 yards of net in the sea. I got one in 59, but this year I've packed up. I can't do it.
So how did you start in the fishing industry?
Well, I also wanted to go to sea, and my parents wouldn't let me. I had to work at home in a family business, which was a shop, selling fish and shellfish, also a grocer's shop in Flamborough. And then I also wanted to go, and so I went to my national service in the local regiment. And then I came out. I went back to school again. I took a Postmaster General's certificate for a wireless officer. But instead of going in the Merchant Navy, I went on into the trawling fleet because you got a share of the catch. And so my object was to work and just save every penny, and then to get my own boat, which I did. I worked from Flamborough, salmon fishing for a start. Then got a new boat built, came to Brid, and we've had we've had 4 boats since. But my son takes our boat now, so everything's handed over to him.
So how long have you been involved in fishing then?
Since, salmon licence 59. Yeah.
So you wouldn't have had it any other way?
No, I wouldn't, no. much of my mother's concern, and she didn't want me to go, because her family were fishermen, Flamborough.
Yes, it's not. I mean, it's not a safe option, is it really?
Not really, no. But you don't think of the downside of it, really. It's all this. There's times when you can hit it, and that's where you feel real good. You get a real boost out of it.